It's Sunday morning and it's See Here, and I welcome all of you. First, on this week's edition, the gang from Head to Head. Helen Desfosses and Scott Lonsberry, two very provocative and wonderful people. And after them, we'll have some wonderful folk music from Jeff Strange. And following Jeffrey's fine contribution, we're going to teach you the Heimlich maneuver this week. Very, very important. Almost everyone here knows somebody who's been saved by this incredible procedure. We'll have the right people to help you understand what it's all about. That and much more on this week's See Here. You know, on Mondays and Thursdays, we have little debates here on the 11 o'clock news called Head to Head. And it's always designed to educate. It's great to talk to people who are better than you are at arguing. And the two people who are better than I am that are with us today are our friends Helen Desfosses, who is the provost at the State University of New York at the Rockefeller College, and with her and is Scott Lonsberry, who is a wonderful talk show host on WQBK, a guy that I love to listen to. Even though he's a conservative, I think he's terrific. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Hi, Helen.
Now, Helen, you're a liberal, right?
I am a liberal and a Democrat.
Unreconstructed, right?
Leftover liberal, I consider
A leftover liberal. And you, Scott, you describe yourself as a...
I'm going to move away from Helen just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Would you consider yourself to be a conservative?
Right-wing, radical, you can call me anything you want. I'll stick up for it.
Yeah. So how do you guys sit in the same room next to each other without, you know, sort of hitting each other? It's astounding. But,
well, we've discovered we sort of like each other, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's the fun of the ideas, as you know, and you're fun to start out and say, you know, that you enjoy the battle of it all, because that's what it comes down to, I think.
Well, I think it's also that it's so much fun to deal with people you like, but who have real different ideas than you do. And I think one of the things that's missing in this civilization is civility itself sometimes. That, you know, you can dislike ideas, but you can like the people who are coming out with those ideas.
And that's been totally lost in American politics now, the idea that you can attack the idea but not go after the person. And I think the good thing about this crew is that we've learned to do that very nicely.
Helen, tell us a little about what you do.
Well, I'm a college professor at the State University of New York at Albany.
What do you
I
teach?
teach public administration, public policy courses. I also teach African politics, which I dearly love.
Is that right? How did you get into that?
Well, I've loved politics since I was a child. My mother chaired the Democratic Women's Club in our town, and I wanted to study it. And I wanted to study things that were comparative overseas, as well as understand American politics. So I've been teaching at SUNY Albany since 1978.
Do you spend much time in Africa?
I do. I've been there several times for lecture tours, and I go as many times as I can. I'm scheduled to go to Egypt in a few months.
Oh, that's great, Helen. And Scott, how did you get your start, and how did you end up in this game?
In this game. You know, sometimes, this is the way it is many times, you just tend to fall into things. I started out because I was motivated. I felt like the media wasn't covering a lot of the ideas of conservatives and Republicans, and so I started working into this area. Went to SUNY originally, got into the radio business, and just sat there and waited to keep working to get a chance to do it, and that's where I came from.
What's it like to sit behind those microphones every day and have guys call up and scream at you and tell you that somebody's sending, you know, brainwaves through the wall?
Well, you know, I mean, we ask for it, don't we? That's part of the business. You're talking about the civility or the loss of civility. Sometimes I wonder if talk radio, as a new medium, doesn't quite understand, you know, the dynamic of what we're doing, myself included, because I can think back on some things that I've said that now I think are inappropriate. It tends to be so fast, so quick, that I think it's a new medium that we have to keep learning about.
Well, don't you think the people out there who call in are looking for a fight?
Oh, sure, and that's our job, to try to provoke people to get on the air, and you know, it's just the nature of the beast, and I think many of us are starting to wonder, does it bring something constructive, or are we just being destructive?
Yeah.
We were talking before we came on the air about the fact that the public's interest in ideas seems to be lessening, and how much the media has contributed to that by focusing on politics as a confrontation or a bullfight, rather than on the exploration of ideas and choices. That's pretty hard to tell.
Well, let me try. Well, first of all, I want to ask you one more question about your college teaching. What are you finding the students? Smarter, more interested? Or do you think that this business about what's happening to the society in general, this confrontationalism, is happening in a classroom also?
Very much happening in the classroom. I think just as the public wants sound bites, the students want sound bites. And you find yourself having to be more of an entertainer than used to be the case. I've heard of students coming in with tape recorders that you can speed up so that you don't hear any of the professor's pauses or anything like that. You can make it go faster and faster, just like a video machine at home. And that's really a deleterious teaching environment, I think, in the classroom. And it's true all across the country.
Yeah. It's interesting that you find the same phenomena that goes on in a talk show happening in a classroom also. Let me see if we can have a little fun here with our listeners and come up with some of the ideas that we talk about on See Here, and then give each of you a chance to talk about them and just show some of the differences, okay? So I'll start out with a real easy one, and Scott, you go first. Right. Abortion.
Just reaction.
Yeah.
It's reaction. Well, I'm textbook case, you know, and I think that it's being revealed this time around that there actually is a pro-abortion movement in this country. I know that gets people upset, but there is, as we watch what the president's done with this partial birth abortion, and he's aligning himself with that extreme position. So that's the way I read it.
Just help us all a little bit and remind us what that's all about.
The partial birth abortion? Talk radio parlay or television language?
Either way.
I mean, there's no way to put it any nicer, except we're actually bringing a child out of the womb partially and stabbing it in the back of the head, and you know, it's tough to go on with.
And so basically your sense of it is no abortion?
Well, I think the nation is ready for certainly some movement back to what many people are denouncing as the extreme right wing. But the movement is what people are after. They want parental consent. They want to ban this extremism of partial birth, and we need to move back towards the center.
But don't you think that what you're really after is no abortion? If you had your way, your druthers,
well, there may be parts of the movement like that, but you can't discredit the entire desire for the public and propriety of the public to move towards the center by pointing only to the extreme.
Okay, and incest and rape, would you allow abortions for that, Scott?
Well, you know, I mean, personally, those are different questions in a public question.
No, they're different questions, but yes or no is the question.
My personal feeling is I think, you know, as long as you hold it its life, how can you kill some lives because of the condition of their existence?
So no abortion even when the life of the mother may be in trouble, or there may have been this pregnancy as a result of rape?
Well, the life of the mother, I believe that most people have come to the conclusion that that is a concession that's made, because then you have two competing lives, and we give that to the our higher authority. But the other regards, we have to be faithful to life.
Helen Desfosses?
Well, I'm obviously in favor of women's reproductive rights, women's reproductive freedom. I think it's very, very important that women be allowed to determine what's going to happen to their lives. I think that the allegation that women are pro-abortion is a very, very unfortunate misunderstanding. Women are pro-choice. They sometimes have to make unfortunate choices because they don't have the money, they don't have the support, they don't have the wherewithal to carry another pregnancy to term. And this partial abortion issue, if ever there was anything that's being painted in extreme terms, sometimes women get far enough along in a pregnancy, something serious happens, the health of the mother is being threatened. No doctor wants to intervene at that point. No mother wants to intervene at that point. But sometimes that's the only way to save the mother's life. And I think that late-term partial abortion issue has really been used and manipulated to start attacking the entire spectrum of women's reproductive rights.
So what you're telling Scott is he is taking the extreme and using it as the whole of abortion,
yes,
which is why I asked him the question, I think, to be fair, about whether he was for any abortion at all.
I don't know how the position of extremism could be brought back on the pro-life movement, because what we're seeing is the legality of the partial birth. And again, we could go through the horror of that. And the statistics have revealed that it's not used for the life of the mother, and it's used, as most abortion is, for convenience.
Helen, did you want to say something?
No, I just think that here's another one of those issues where I think if you and I were to talk long enough, we could come up with some common ground. I think that contraception needs to be much more widely available in this country. Sex education needs to be much more widely available. Economic help for poor women needs to be much more widely available. And then that would bring down the number of abortions, and you and I could feel much more comfortable with what's happening.
Well, conservative, Scott, how do you feel about that?
How about the common ground? Come with me, let's have parental consent, and let's ban partial birth, and we'll work on those issues.
Well, we got to talk some more about those.
Okay, let's go to another one. Republicans versus Democrats. Bill Clinton, let's say, versus Bob Dole. Let's assume that that's what it's going to be. Where do you come down? Scott?
Obviously, with Bob Dole, I think he's preferable. I think that many Republicans are getting very concerned whether Bob Dole can do it. They think that there's a wrap, basically, on the nomination. But when you put Bob Dole up against the very effective, whether Republicans like to hear it or not, the very effective Bill Clinton after his speech the other night, I don't know that Bob Dole can do it.
Now, we agree on that. He was absolutely terrific.
You mean Clinton was?
Clinton was
Most Republicans acknowledge
masterful.
that.
I think he really did his homework. He studied all the mistakes that his predecessors had made in their State of the Union speeches. Bush, who didn't outline a vision for his next term, people that have been too pessimistic. And he was visionary, he was optimistic, he had a theme, America, the age of possibility. He talked about values. People loved it. It's just been terrific. I'm so excited.
He sounded like a pretty good Republican. He did. And that's why it's tough to fight back. And that's what his trick has been all along, the new Democrat. And because, as you and I have been talking before, a lot of the public's not engaged in the details or day-to-day business. So they'll take this quick loss, and they took it again the other night from the president.
But you know what happened? The fact that Dole went on right afterwards and sounded so testy
Dour.
and snarly, that was bad. That was bad for Dole, bad for the Republicans, and it set a very wrong tone, I think,
Helen,
for the campaign.
let me ask you something. Scott just threw out the gauntlet and said that in fact, Billy was sounding like a Republican. Is that true?
Billy has heard the message. People want smaller government. Even I, a liberal, have heard the message. People want smaller government. But Billy is saying, let's have self-reliance, smaller government, but let's also have teamwork and take care of the poor. Great for Billy.
Yeah. We only have a minute left. Hillary, which rhymes with Billary.
I think a lot of the vituperation being heaped on Hillary has less to do with Hillary's shortcomings, and there are many, and more to do with people's anger at her role that she's been trying to play in the White House.
Can she drag him down as a president?
She is going to be a real problem, and tomorrow's her big day. Well, Friday is her big day.
Friday was her big day.
Friday was her big day.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be accused of not being a very good Republican, but I think this is more the weakness of the Republicans going into this campaign. The people do not vote for a first lady, and they won't be making a decision based on Hillary as much as we may not like her right now.
Even if she's indicted?
Well, indicted may be a different
Oh,
question.
come on. She's not going to be indicted.
She's not going to be indicted by either of you.
Being bossy is not a felony. This woman has made some mistakes, and she's gone after the
Libby's a
travel
nicer
office
first lady,
staff
though.
or whatever.
Libby's a
Even Libby
nicer
doesn't
first
want to
lady.
stay in the White House.
She doesn't want to
Libby
stay
has
there.
announced she wants to be
Yeah.
president of the Red Cross.
Right.
So terrific.
Oh,
I'm
you're talking about
going
Elizabeth. He's talking about Libby. Libby Pataki,
Oh,
I
I'm
think.
talking about
no.
Elizabeth. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Oh.
In any case, I love what both of you do, and it's terrific. Anybody who wants to hear head-to-head on Mondays and Thursdays, I think you're in for a big surprise if you haven't seen it already on the 11 o'clock news here on News Channel 13. In any case, we will be back. We'll have the Heimlich maneuver, which I promised you, and right before that, we'll have some great folk music from Jeff Strange. Stay tuned. Our musical guest this morning is guitarist, folk singer Jeff Strange. That's strange.
Yes, it is.
I guess you've heard that a few times in your life, huh?
No, this is the first time, actually. I've never heard that before.
Jeff, where will you be playing?
Well, this Wednesday night I'll be playing at the Troy Pub and Brewery, obviously in Troy, and on Saturday night I'll be at Beth's on Waterbury Ave in Albany.
And you really get around on this stuff. We can
yes.
find you. I hear by advance notice that you're a terrific singer and player.
Thank you.
And here's your new CD.
Yes, it is.
Jeff Strange, The Killing Words.
Thank you.
That's a tough name, The Killing Words. Words that kill, huh?
Yes. And when you hear the song, you will know.
You'll understand
I'll do
all
a little
about
bit later, right.
Okay. Let's hear from you, Jeff.
Okay. This is the first song on the CD. This is called The Three Trees. I hear the sound of the boats on the river from far away in the dark, heavy night. And I hear the train as it rolls through the station, shaking the shadows of the distant streetlights. I dreamed a dream walk down by the old wall, where many, many hearts have been carved in stone. And I see the sky standing clear on the water. The lake is silent where the willows hang down. The same old moon shines down on the schoolyard. The same old stars right on different clouds. A million voices fill empty schoolrooms, and I hear the 3 trees have been cut down. Still feel the kiss from the girl with the dark hair behind the sandpit out in winter's cold freeze. And I see the mist from the light in the churchyard, and I hear the ice cracking beneath my feet. The same old moon shines down on the schoolyard, same old stars right on different clouds. Familiar voices fill empty schoolrooms, and I hear the 3 trees have been cut down. Shadows fall on the street by the pillars. The old world is lost to those blind eyes of change. And I hear old ghosts howl down by the spillway. Their fate is locked behind those shiny new gates. The same old moon shines down on the schoolyard. The same old stars right on different clouds. Familiar voices fill empty schoolrooms, and I hear the 3 trees have been cut down. I hear the 3 trees have been cut down. I hear the 3 trees have been cut down.
Straight from the magnificent Albany Medical Center comes Dr. Kevin Riley, Nurse Diane Kozak, and some guests. You will remember that last week we tried to show you CPR, and I think we've had a lot of calls about people who love learning a little about that. This week, something that could even be a little bit more important, and that is the Heimlich maneuver. What happens when you got something in your throat and you can't get it out and you're turning blue and there's somebody at the next table? What happens, Dr. Kevin?
Well, it's important that everybody know how to clear someone's airway because, like you mentioned, that's important to save a life. And more lives are saved by clearing the airway than by CPR. The first thing we wanted to demonstrate was in the infant. And the infant, because of the smaller airway, oftentimes gets into bigger trouble.
Right.
The thing you want to look for in an infant, you'll see that the lips or the face turns blue. The first thing you want to do is listen and see if they're moving air. If they're not moving air, put them head down in your arm. 5 good back blows. Then turn them over, and then 5 chest thrusts. Again, you put your fingers just below the nipple line, 2 fingers, 5 thrusts. You want to look inside the mouth and see if you see the object inside the mouth. If you're able to see it, you take it out. If not, you go back 5 more back blows, 5 more chest thrusts, check for the object. And you keep repeating that until you're able to see the object and able to remove the object.
And what if it doesn't come out?
If it doesn't come out, you continue that. It's important that somewhere in that time period you activate the EMS system
And get somebody over there.
and get someone over there.
Okay, let's move on to our youngster now. Diane?
Well, with a young child, they're very likely to, because they're always putting things in their mouths, to have an obstruction. When you see the child isn't breathing, they might hold their throat, but not very likely. Come up behind them, pull them up on your lap, and...
So you're sitting down there?
Well, you could be sitting, you could be kneeling.
Okay.
Often these children, they're on the, they're so low to the ground, you're
Right.
going to be down there with them. And you support them up against you, and with one arm, one fist, thrust upward just above the waist, below the ribs, towards the shoulder blades. 5 times.
One wrist.
One wrist.
One, the other is across the chest?
You're
or
just holding
it
them.
on?
Yeah,
okay.
just holding
And the
them.
other is just pressing up, right?
Yes.
5 times.
5 times. And then see how they're doing.
Right.
And then 5 again until they clear.
Until they clear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what if the kid is, struggling around?
They may be. That's why you've got to have a good hold on them.
Okay.
And
okay.
against you for a firm surface to be pressing against.
Okay. All right. Now, let's deal with an adult. That adult will be me.
Right.
And I'm ready for this. Okay, Nurse Diane Kozak. Now, I've heard of people getting busted ribs. You're not going to bust my ribs on
No,
this, are you?
of course not.
Okay, that's good.
Take a hold of a person and tell them you're going to help them.
Okay.
They're going to run away. They're going to run for the bathroom. Come behind them with both arms just above their waist and aim for the shoulder blades.
Do you tell them to relax?
They're going to be doing that naturally.
Okay. I'm not relaxed.
And aim 5 times.
Okay, so what happened? Did it come out? It did.
If you start talking, it came out.
Right. I know somebody who had a job interview at a university. The president saw the guy choking. The president runs over to him, does the Heimlich maneuver, and the guy spits up over everybody who's doing the interviewing him, and he doesn't get the job. Now, there's a clear question of which priority you would rather have, the job or, forget about it. So anyway, so now we had the 3. Can we go over them all real quickly again?
Sure.
Let's see if we can do that. Okay, let's try the baby first with Dr. Kevin.
Okay, the important points are that you want to have the head down. You want to pretty firm back blows between the shoulder blades, 5. And then 5 chest thrusts. Again, the correct position for your fingers is just below the nipple line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the idea is that you're increasing the pressure within the lungs and the airway, and that shoots it out like a ping pong ball.
Really? Have you ever seen it done? Have you ever done it?
I've done it.
No
I've
kidding.
Cleared airways. I've saved a life.
Really? What was the circumstance, real quick?
It was in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Someone was eating very fast. It was a meat bolus that is pretty common.
Meat bolus? Is that like a meatball? No,
Yeah,
that's...
yeah. Like a meatball that hasn't been chewed well enough.
Right, piece of steak or something like that.
And it gets stuck in the airway.
Okay.
A lot of times people have been drinking with this.
We're running out of time. Nurse Diane, give us this one.
Child, come up behind the child, hold them firmly against you. 1 fist just above their waist, below the ribs, and thrust upwards
5 times.
5 times.
Okay, that's terrific. Now do me one more time. Okay, here we go. I've got... What are you doing? Are your hands like this? Your hands are...
A fist,
A fist?
using the narrow diameter of the
Right.
fist,
Okay, okay.
just below the ribs and
Yeah.
above the waist. The other hand on the outside for pressure from both hands.
Okay, all right.
And then up.
Okay, there it goes. Well, that's terrific. Well, terrific. And this is so important now. If you see somebody doing it, it's better to do it sooner than later, right?
Absolutely.
And how do people get their ribs broken, which we hear about every once in a while doing this?
Usually it's that the hands are too high.
Too high up.
Right.
Right below the ribs is where
Right,
you really
between
want
the
to get them.
belly button and the ribs.
Well, you guys are terrific, and I appreciate it. I think we'll save a life here today. Remember the Heimlich maneuver. I'll be back with a little commentary to wind all of this up. Still another exciting week in politics. Now it's the Forbes campaign that is giving the D'Amato Pataki people the agita. Malcolm Forbes' son, Steve, hired a great lawyer, Tom Spargo, and it looks like he's pulled off the 8th wonder of the modern world. It looks like Spargo has gotten Forbes on the presidential primary ballot in most of the congressional districts in the state. This is really bad news for the D'Amato-Pataki people, since they've been trying their very hardest to make sure that the 5 choices in the Republican primary will be Dole, 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 and finally Dole. There are a lot of Republicans out there who really hate the idea that a presidential primary is anything but a Dole primary. A recent Zogby poll of enrolled voters in New York State honed in on the fact that Republicans were angry at D'Amato, and my bet is that this is the very issue that the reason that they're not happy is all about. All of this is complicated by the fact that in New Hampshire and Iowa, Forbes is pulling even with Dole, and momentum is now on his side. Never mind the fact that Forbes' idea for a single flat tax is certain to punish the middle class, and that he's willing to spend millions of his own money to get to the White House. There is something that really sticks in the craw of people who are denied their right to vote for the man they want, or woman. Let's face it, this is just the kind of thing that makes people cynical about politics and politicians. That's why Forbes could well pull off the upset of the century in New York State politics and actually win the New York Republican primary, and that would be a bitter pill for the establishment to swallow. In any case, I'm Alan Chartock, wishing you all a very happy and productive week, and hoping we'll see you all right here next Sunday. Now here's Jeff with some great music.
Romantic relations, the moon is fine and full, a night to wear your summer-colored clothes and walk by the garden.